Loneliness gets a really bad rap. Why is it a bad thing to be alone? Sometimes it's actually very beneficial using your time alone, very empowered as your superpower to recharge. Welcome to my Broken to Brave podcast. I'm Donna Barnes. Having your heart broken is usually the catalyst to make you alone and to make you really look at your own stuff and do some self growth work. So if you actually had your heart broken, now is the perfect time to become your best self by being alone and not feeling sorry for self, but using this time effectively to really look at your stuff and do some digging. And look, I'll tell you, the best growth that I did was when I had my heart ripped out the first time, because there was some trauma there that needed to be unpacked that I was never brave enough to unpack. But when you're already at your worst self and you're just so defeated, it actually made sense of those feelings to attack that trauma. So if you're going through a bad breakup for the first time, I highly recommend call me. I'm actually great at helping you unpack stuff and giving you tools to work through some stuff. I think it's the perfect time to unpack some stuff that you really need to look at. It's also empowering. You think better when you're by yourself, and you can accomplish more while you're by yourself. And if you give yourself permission to be by yourself and utilize your time effectively and be really proactive in taking actions to become your best self, then you will not feel lonely. There is a massive difference between lonely and alone. And I'm not suggesting you feel lonely. I'm suggesting you take some time to be alone, to really get things done for you. I know I do my best thinking when I'm alone. I've long said running and in the shower is when I get my best thinking done because I'm completely by myself. Most of my best ideas come when I am by myself. And honestly, even in making these videos, I know for myself when I first start. In fact, I hope you stay to the end of all of my videos, because when I first start talking, I'm not as engaged yet. The ends of my videos are usually more informative and more interesting than the beginning. So if you're a fan of my channel, I hope you'll watch to the end of most of my videos. I, at this point in my life, am so much happier being alone than being in a relationship that's not the right relationship for me, that's not making me happy. I mean, quite frankly, that's a distraction. It's a distraction to be spending time with somebody that you don't think you're going to spend the rest of your life with, or that you're just really not feeling is an efficient use of your time. Dating and relationships are supposed to enhance our life. It's supposed to make our life better and make us happy. And we can't always control that, right? We can't always control having someone to love and love us. So the frustration of not having someone to love or to love us, I think, is why loneliness gets a bad rap. And I'll tell you, as a matchmaker, a lot of mostly men go through a breakup and as a knee-jerk reaction join matchmaking, hoping to find another relationship immediately. But that never works. You could put the most beautiful, perfect woman in front of a heartbroken man, and he can't see her unless he's been alone for a while. And if he's been alone effectively. So being alone, feeling sorry for yourself, really wallowing in your pity is why loneliness gets a bad rap. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about using it, being empowered, embracing alone time to really do some self-growth work, do some journaling, do some self-reflection. I mean, really use this time to become your best self. I mean, honestly, just on a personal level, a much younger me always needed to be in a relationship. I would go from one relationship to the next. I was a serial monogamist. A serial monogamist is somebody who cannot be alone, who always wants to be in a relationship. And, that's where you get into that gray area of looking for the next partner while you're still in this relationship so that you're never alone. You hop from one relationship to the next, to the next, to the next. And my brother, who's 3 years older than me and had a degree in psychology, when I was in my early 20s, used to say to me, you should be alone for a while. And I used to say, why? I don't want to be alone. I hated being alone. I never wanted to be alone. But to his point, at this point in my life, I've probably been alone a lot more than I've actually been in relationships for the last 20 years. But that's a really good thing, because I am 100% the best version of myself. And it's why I coach other people. I've always said therapists become therapists by trying to figure out their own stuff first. And I think that's very evident if you have a therapist who's not capable of of removing their own personal bias, right? As a coach, I've had a lot of clients that have had therapists and they share things with me that their therapists have said to them. And it's their personal bias, right? So, in coaching people, I'm very open. And here's the thing too, therapists will never share anything about their life with you. You know nothing about your therapist. But as a coach, I use my personal stories to help give you insight into your life and to what you do better. And geez, a lot of my clients just want to feel normal. Is this normal? Coaching is really much more grounded in, I always say I take on more of a big sister or close mentor kind of relationship with my clients because I will share my life with you if I think it's going to be helpful to you. My point is, I have become the best version of myself by finally learning to be alone. The much younger serial monogamist that I used to be, jumping from one relationship to another, was really not helpful to me at all. And I've admitted to people close to me that I was a little bit of a nightmare in my 20s. I was very self serving. It was all about me. I'd never had my heart broken. Have you had your heart broken is a defining question. If you've had your heart broken, you just have more emotional depth. You have more compassion. You get it, right? But if you've never had your heart broken, you're just kind of skating along. You're just like, yeah, it's all good. If it's not broke, don't fix it, right? Like it really, I can tell you personally, I had my heart ripped out for the first time when I was 30. And honestly, it made me a much better person. It truly was the best thing that ever happened to me because it was the first time that I ever looked at myself and thought, what's wrong with me? Really coming from the place of, why doesn't he want me anymore? Right? But honestly, we all need to ask that question. What's wrong with me? There's something, none of us are perfect, right? None of us are perfect. Try as we may. For all you perfectionists out there, I fully get you and I feel you, but it's exhausting and it's impossible. And honestly, really, like your somewhat best is probably excellent and good enough. Perfection can really hold you back from ever finishing anything, right? That's the whole trap of it. Like if it has to be perfect, it's just, you're just never going to let it go. You're never going to finish it because it's just not perfect. It's never going to be perfect. And I mean, I've struggled with that myself. It's really difficult at first to just say, you know what, that's good enough. And honestly, for perfectionists, they're good enough is usually quite extraordinary, right? So if you're a perfectionist, I hope you can hear that. Being alone with our thoughts is how we usually get the most powerful thoughts and the best ideas. It's when we can really brainstorm. I love to be by myself because I get my best thinking done. I really do. I really, at this point in my life, I so enjoy being by myself and I'm very social. I'm a Gemini. I love to be out around people. I'm a people person, but then I really need to decompress. Mondays, especially in the summertime, are a little bit difficult for me because I've spent the whole weekend being social. Then Monday comes and I just need to regroup and really and Monday mornings are my favorite time to go for a run because it just sets the tone and gets me into my head about what I need to do and what is most effective use of my time. So if you're feeling lonely, I'd like to put a new thought in your head to be alone with your thoughts and your ideas and your self growth and becoming your best self. You need to be alone to become your best self. And that's a wonderful thing. What a gift. It's a gift to be alone. So alone, not lonely, is what I'm suggesting. Your perception is your reality. So if you perceive yourself to be lonely and sad and struggling to get over a breakup and really missing that person, or you can be choosing to be alone to really get your best work done. Your best creative breakthroughs come through when you're alone. Right? You get your best thoughts done. You're completely uninterrupted. You have complete control over your time and you can get your best work done. I love to be by myself. Being alone is really powerful. And honestly, I have lived alone the majority of my adult life. When I first moved to New York as a teenager, I had a roommate for 2 years and then never again, unless it was a man that I was in love with. I really think it's very helpful to be by yourself. Get your best thinking done. And honestly, some very powerful men that I've had the privilege of getting to know hate to be alone. It's amazing to me that they've become as successful as they have been because they hate to be alone. But honestly, what that says to me is that when they're forced to be alone, they do their best thinking and they've utilized that time to become their best self. And I think that's exceptionally true. Very powerful men frequently spend a lot of time alone, but that's exactly what has helped them become very powerful men. And they didn't always want to be alone, but they utilized the time effectively. And that's what I'm suggesting for you. I mean, and women do that too. It's just that I've had the privilege of getting to know a few men like that. I think being alone is essential in becoming your best self. So if you're feeling lonely, you want to put a new thought in your head, you're not alone. You're choosing to use your time effectively without being interrupted. One of the biggest benefits of being alone is it will help you make better choices in who your next partner is. Because if you get comfortable being by yourself, you will not give that up for the wrong person. Because here's the trap. If you hate to be alone and you'll go through all costs to not be alone, then you end up hanging out with people that aren't really fulfilling your soul, right? They're fulfilling the need of you not being alone, but they're not really fulfilling. And, honestly, there was a song years ago that said, it's sad to belong to someone else when the right one comes along. That happens because people don't like to be alone. If you don't like to be alone, your bar is set pretty low of who you choose to spend your time with because you just hate to be alone. You would rather spend your time with anybody than to spend your time alone. That's a really bad combination if you're looking for a partner. You need to make peace with being alone by yourself so that you can make really good choices in your partner. That's exceptionally true for me. I've said I'm making the best choices I've ever made in my life because I know myself quite well. I've spent a lot of time with myself. I mean, you should see my bookcases. You can't see them in view of the camera, but I have a plethora of books that have just fed my mind. And my brain just grabs onto information too. It's why I'm really good at coaching people because I love to learn. And you learn best by yourself, right? Being by yourself, alone, not lonely, is how you will attract the partner that is right for you. Because it'll help you really see someone for who they are, not out of a desperation to need to be with somebody, but because you're really genuinely looking for your partner. And it helps you make better decisions. It really does. So if you're alone right now because you went through a breakup and you're really missing your ex and you're really struggling and you're mad at them that you're alone and you're hating being alone, let me put a different thought in your head. Utilize this time, learn who you are, do some self-growth, become your best self, and then be able to make a really good choice about your next partner. Someone who really can last forever because they're truly right for you. Because you didn't choose them out of lonely desperation. You chose them because they really enhanced your life and you were willing to give up your alone time to spend more time with somebody who's really enhancing your life and making it better. I absolutely am happier when I'm in a relationship, but a true loving relationship that also includes independence, right? I don't need to be joined at the hip with my partner so that we do everything together. Then, because, familiarity breeds contempt, right? You can't spend all of your time with somebody and be truly happy. You need that alone time to feed your soul and to just unwind and debrief and to learn new things. Living in New York, I used to go out to dinner all the time and it was, the tables are pretty close together in a lot of restaurants. And it's amazing to me how many couples were sitting there and not saying a word to each other. And yeah, it just always baffled me. I mean, if I'm out to dinner with somebody, I want to be having conversation with them. But there's also something to be said for being comfortable to sit in silence with somebody and feel okay with that. So yeah, probably not in a restaurant, but at home, yeah. They talk about men with their man caves. That's a necessity, right? And as a woman, I'm like, why does a man get a cave? I need a cave, right? Like I need that independent space too. And I think it's very helpful within a relationship not to feel lonely, because it's terrible to feel lonely within a relationship. That means that you don't feel loved. But to have alone time within the space of a healthy, loving partnership, I think is the holy grail, right? That's a healthy relationship. And I'm not willing to give up my alone time for anything less than that. And that's what I'm trying to encourage you to do too. So leave me your comments. Let me know. Do you hate being alone? Do you love being alone? What are your thoughts about being alone? Has being alone led to some success for you? Leave me a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. And like my video, subscribe if you haven't, and I'm here for coaching. If you need help, if you want to talk, there's a link in the description. You can sign up for coaching with me. And I look forward to seeing you in my next episode.